particularly on multicam, it's a choreographed piece that really needs to flow, not only for the joke, but for the timing and it has to make sense. It's a slice of life, literally in a box that's not a 360 box. You know what I mean? So things have to make sense, and you're there. Like I always pre-prep. I'm pre-blocked. I come in with a plan and we play, but I really set the stage for my actors. That's my deal. I make sure that they know that I care in that way. Instead of just, I'm going to throw the dice up, go ahead. Y'all can start in the kitchen, maybe in the living room. I'm just, no. There's no time. It's against you always. So that is shocking. And that was more than one director that I've seen that with.
Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon is a podcast on directing for anybody that's, quite simply, ever watched anything. Visit PeteChatmon.com to get your official podcast merch, hoodies, hats, jackets, mugs, and other swag, and learn more about your host.
Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon is sponsored by the good folks at Scriptation. Scriptation is the Emmy Award-winning app for production that allows you to mark up scripts, transfer notes, generate breakdowns, and so much more. No matter where you fall on the call sheet, Scriptation makes it easy to go paperless, collaborate with your crew, and save hours of time. Go to scriptation.com/Pete to learn more and receive a special offer exclusive to Let's Shoot listeners. Now, on to the show. All right. Welcome to episode 64 of the show. This is Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon, and today's guest is the director, Kelly Park. Kelly is a wonderful director behind such shows as Grace and Frankie, Lopez versus Lopez, Frasier, The Neighborhood, and more. But like most of us behind the camera, her journey has been far from a straight line from dream to reality. One of the first conversations I had with Kelly was at the DGA Awards a couple years back, and her energy was infectious. She congratulated and thanked me for my book, Transitions, and I immediately envisioned that the way she poured into me was how her actors must feel when she takes command of a set. Now, before we get to the interview, I will say I recorded this interview over horrible-ass Wi-Fi in New York at the apartment I rented while I was shooting You. So if there's any awkwardness, I hope you will attribute it to that fact. We were often looking at frozen faces and dealing with an audio delay, but I don't think it affected the final product. So that's the one production disclaimer I had to make. And I will shout out our producer and editor, Tristan Nash, for working his magic throughout that situation. So now,
the
catch-up. Since last week's episode, I got word back from my film agent at CAA that he likes our heist script and will be passing it along to the talent department to review. This is a first for me as an indie guy who came up having no agent and having no one to review it but myself and my friends and my trusted, filmmaker buddies whose advice and feedback kind of led the day. But it's a first step. I assume it's a stage where they look at all the roles of the film and see which CAA talent might be a great fit in an effort to start packaging the film before we go out to producers and production companies. So I will keep y'all posted on the process. In the interest of going inside baseball a bit, because I don't want to assume that everybody knows everything, directors can have different agents for the different mediums we work in. So within my team at CAA, I have folks that represent me for TV solely, Brandon Lawrence and William Brown, and that focuses on episodic directing, pilots, producing director jobs, what have you, things that come on a television screen or something like it. And then my film agent works solely in the interest of getting me in the director's chair for feature film work. I also have an agent for commercial work that is not at CAA. It's with a company called Superlative. But this is kind of the team that you hear a lot of filmmakers talk about. It's getting people around you who help to put you in those different positions. Now, my film agent, Pete Stein, reps Cord Jefferson. So here's to hoping for some of that American fiction magic to rub off on your boy. So we'll see what happens, and I'll keep y'all posted. But in the meantime, while we start having conversations about potential cast, of which my co-writer, Candice Sanchez McFarland, and I have our own working list, we're also beginning to put together a visual deck for the heist film that will help to clarify the vision, the voice, and the intent as we begin to pitch and talk about the project more and more. What else? Yesterday, I dropped a video on Instagram announcing a free giveaway of signed copies of my book, Transitions, A Director's Journey and Motivational Handbook. So here's how we're going to do it. Send a 1-minute video to Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon at gmail.com explaining how you use Scriptation, and the users with the 3 most innovative ways will all get a signed copy of my book. I'm trying to learn something here, so let me know about any hacks that you have or unique ways of organizing your process in prep, on set, or in post. So send that 1-minute video to Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon, Chatmon at gmail.com. And let's get some books in y'all's hands, all right?
Crew call.
All right, before we get to the interview with this week's star of the show, Kelly Park, we've got our 3rd installment of Crew Call, this time with Devon Edwards, a post-production supervisor. Tell us what you do, Devon.
This is Devon Edwards. I am a post-production manager at Mar Vista Entertainment with the Fox Entertainment Group. My job entails managing the post-production for Tubi original films. What I do that you won't find on the call sheet is after picture is locked, my job is to vet and hire third-party vendors to handle all of the post-production process. That includes VFX, graphics, sound design, and everything dealing with the post process. I'll also manage the budget in post to ensure that once the film is locked, that we're able to maintain and meet our budget deadlines or goals in the post process. And I see it all the way through to the QC and to delivery onto the network and before it airs. So we go through a QC process. I manage all the onboarding processes with the creatives, directors, DPs, producers. We have conversations about what is practical, what is VFX, how much those costs will be, how much will it affect the budget for posts, and what ways we can solve for issues to save money, if you will. And so that's typically what I do. You won't find it on a call sheet because, I'm not on set. I'm dealing with the process, as you know, after filming is done and picture is locked. And that's what I do on a day-to-day. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is something that you can utilize. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. And with that, peace.
All right. Thank you, Devon, for taking the time to submit that video. Anyone else that is interested, go ahead and make a 2-minute video explaining what you do in your position on set. Shoot it in landscape mode and email it to Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon at gmail.com, and we'll work to get it on the show and or on our socials. Now, let's get this episode popping. This is episode 64, starring Kelly Park.
Roll sound.
Speed.
The interview. Take 1.
All right, Kelly Park, director, writer, producer. I've heard acting coach, maybe.
You've heard, yes.
So many things. Where are you from, Kelly? Let's get to it.
I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm a Philly baby. Yes. Born and raised by a single mom who was an actor. So, I was always around it every day. I mean, she did Playhouse in the Park. She did guerrilla theater. We had live theater in the house with all her friends. So I was that kid that grew up just entrenched in it. And I always knew that I wanted to do something. I wanted to be an actor or a comedian. I knew it was something in the arts. Directing was kind of the furthest thing from my mind at the time because I never really saw me as a director. I never really saw Black women directing. So I kind of put that on the shelf a little bit because, I didn't think it was really that possible. So as my life started to unfold and I moved out to, first of all, the Bay Area. That's where I met my husband. He's originally from Brooklyn. So Brooklyn in the house.
I like how you say
we met and we hooked up, and my husband, we connected on so many levels. He loves the arts too, and theater and writing and all the things, and found love, had a kid, Sid the kid, wonderful. We decided from the Bay Area we were going to move to LA just to try to figure it out. You know what I'm saying? Our daughter Sydney, when she was born, she was nuts too. She was into, theater, and she would do dances for us. So we knew that she had some sort of talent and that we wanted to really help nurture that. And we were also talented. So we moved to LA. Long story short, I got a job at the Hollywood Improv as a server. It was so funny. My mom was like, you were a professional person. You were a project manager, lived in the world and had health benefits. Why are you going to the Hollywood Improv? I was like, there's something there. I can be around like minds and beautiful people that understood comedy and, stand-up comedians that were up and coming. Tiffany Haddish, Kevin Hart, all of them. And our daughter at the time was like 6 years old. And she was like, I can do stand-up. I was like, you can't even wipe yourself. You can't do stand-up. So we put her up on that stage. She did Mo Better Mondays with D. Ray Davis, and she was hilarious. She was Sid the kid. So I'm wiping tables, trying to meet people and trying to further myself. And Sydney's up there doing stand-up comedy. And it was off the chain. It was an incredible experience in my life. And that's kind of how we started in the industry.
Now, there's so many things that I could take a pit stop on, like so many parts. First, I want to ask about live theater in the house that your mother did. What was that? What were they doing? What were you learning? Like, what is that? Because I have an imagination, I have an idea, but I bet I'm wrong.
Listen, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf with a little 6-year-old black girl was everything, okay? Marlene Dietrich sometimes. I sang the song, The Minute You Walk Through the Joint. I could tell you were a man of distinction. I was in it. I did all the things. Ron O'Neal stopped by one time, and I was like, this is incredible. What is my life? So, she just kept me involved and always reaching for different stars, which was amazing. I love her for that.
Isn't it interesting, though, like how that happened for you, and then for Sydney, she had a similar kind of opportunity, and just what exposure can do for a young mind that's looking to hang its creativity and its passion around something. It's looking for a coat rack, to lay its coat, and what the parents expose them to has such a big impact.
That's right. It's very, very similar. And my God, I can't even imagine what my life would be if I didn't go through that, if I didn't grow up like that. And passing on to Sydney was huge because she's still in it. Sydney's an actor. She just did a wonderful arc on Will Trent. So she's, she was on The Walking Dead. So she got the chops, and she's comedic and she does drama. So it's been really, really dope. It's been amazing watching her grow, and she's watching us grow, and we're the Trinity. We are the Trinity.
Now, what took you to Oakland?
That's a really, really good question. Had family there and decided, my mom moved there. She got remarried, met this wonderful man, my stepfather, Jeff. He's wonderful. And they moved to Oakland. He's an architect. And he was like, he loved the San Francisco Bay Area. She moved. And I was like, well, I got to follow my tree. This is my tree. I'm following her.
Right.
So I followed her there, and we lived our life. It was great. And met John, like I said, and his family moved to San Francisco as well. So, we were geographically placed, all of us. I believe in that.
That's amazing. All right. So you get there, you're working at the comedy club, you're meeting people. Do you still have, not to be in your business, but I just kind of love the what can possibly come from the marathon of life in LA. Do you remain in contact with people like D. Ray and Tiffany to this day? Like, do they
all
remember
day,
you from them?
every day? Yes. Of course, Kevin Hart still remembers. I remember when Kevin Hart had his first kid, and he's from Philly. So, we connected. Tiffany was trying to get time. Leslie Jones was always trying to get time. So yes, I'm very well connected. Yeah.
And what do you think? I love to ask people, like, what are the takeaway skills that they gain, right? Because a lot of times we have these jobs and we don't put them, like, we don't say, oh, this was the beginning of my career, but like so my question is, what did you learn from that job that you found still applies and exists in your toolkit for operating as a director?
Listen, that question is absolutely perfect. I can tell you what it is. So as a server, you're working in the dark. You have to have time management skills. You have to know what those specials are. You got to know when to drop that check. So I was already directing. I was directing in the comedy club as a server. My time management skills, when you're on sets, they're dark as hell. So you got to know, how to move in that world.
Right.
Those are the takeaways, how to deal with people, different personalities, all of it. So that was the beginning of my thought that, I could possibly direct.
Right. Yeah, I asked that because I feel very strongly that, like, we learn the skills that we need without knowing that we're learning them. And I don't know if this is, it's always weird when I talk to folks, because I'm like, I feel like my anecdotes, people who listen to the podcast are like, will you shut up with this anecdote? But I don't think I shared this one, which is my first job out of NYU. It was a company called Baseline Studio Systems, and pre-IMDb, like, my job was to call and track projects, like from a newspaper article or from a page 6, like Tom Cruise was overheard talking about Mission Impossible 12 at the Waverly Cafe. Then I got to call his production company and, like, we start tracking it from that. And I had to make so many cold calls to people that going up to somebody and asking them something, or, the potential to have a rude person on the other end, or somebody tell you no or stop calling, just made it so easy for me to raise money on my first projects, because I was like, I call 40 people a day. Like, what you gonna do? Like, it's just what it is. So
right. That's amazing.
So what was the next step after leaving the club? Was it directing your first episode of TV?
No. So here's the deal. So no way. I wish. So no, I don't wish, because it happened the way it was supposed to happen. So Sid, I worked there for many, many years. So this time Sid was 12, 13 years old, and had an opportunity to be on a wonderful show called Instant Mom with Tia Mowry and Shirley Ralph. And just, it was incredible for Nickelodeon. It was Nick at Night. And on the weekends, my husband and I started a program for kids called Make It to the Mic, and where we taught improv to kids, and we, helping, stand-up comedy, just all of it, all acting, everything. So Nickelodeon, got wind of it and said, hey, would you like to be an acting coach on set? I'm like, I don't know what that is, but if it pays and if there's benefits, yes, I will do that. So I became an acting coach on Nickelodeon as well as Disney. And I got I was really passionate about it, and it gave me an opportunity to see all the directors, everybody, their style, learning about multicam and cameras. It was just an incredible thing. And I did that for many years as well. And Nickelodeon kept saying, I was like, I got to direct. I would love to. I'm basically directing here. You know what I'm saying? I just, I need to do it. So they kept saying, just keep shadowing, keep shadowing. And I kept shadowing, and time went on. And
how many things did you shadow, you think?
Oh, over 100 shows, maybe. It was so many. I mean, I did whole seasons and coming back for seasons, and it was incredible. I was in school every day learning directing and watching the multicam process, which was wonderful. And then I got a show, Alexa and Katie, Netflix. And I was like, I gotta keep asking. A closed mouth is like fed. So second season comes around. They're like, we'd love for you to be the actor coach. I was like, of course, but I would love to direct. And they were like, of course. And that was it. I never looked back. That was it. I hung up my actor coach hat, and I became a full-time director, and
That's
it changed
dope.
my life. And I finally found my thing. Finally, all the pieces, all the jobs that I've ever had culminated to like this beautiful, beautiful thing that I do, that we do.
That we do, but that you do very specifically. And I have people that obviously mutual friends or acquaintances that have worked with you, and the review is always amazing. And you know, when we spoke at the DGA Awards, whatever year that was, maybe that was last year, like your energy was just infectiously positive, and honest, which if you can bottle that up and bring it to a sets where the energy isn't always that, sets where it maybe used to be that, but they've lost it over the years, or sets where when this person shows up, it goes out the window. Like that's just such a great quality to have as a director, on top of being able to move in the dark and all the timing and whatever that you learn from the comedy job. But that's just a testament to the journey. I'd love to learn more about when you were shadowing these 100 episodes. Can you speak to the things that you saw where you were like, that's not it? And what were those things? You don't have to say who the people were, but like, what were those things? And then how many of them, maybe if you can and find ones that were surprising to you, you know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be like, yo, you don't talk to people like that, but like, do anything stand out where you're like, man, I didn't really think that would be a thing as a director, but that's a thing.
Yeah. There have been a couple times where, I mean, I've idolized a couple of people. I've like watched their career and I've seen what they've done, and I've admired it so much. And then when I meet this person, first of all, there's not a lot of respect a lot of times for acting coaches on sets. It's interesting with some directors. Some people will utilize the gift, as I call it, that, I mean, first of all, I'm there every week. I know the show. I know the actors. I know the ins and outs. I feel it's a benefit if you utilize me, this person. But a lot of people won't. And that was kind of shocking to me. And they would literally just say, sit down, or I'm going to call it DGA. That type of thing. Like, I have a real job. You know what I mean? This is a part of the production. I get paid. And then there are some directors that come in and they allow the actor to block themselves. They literally sit back and say, okay, do what you need to do. I'm like, I didn't realize that was a thing. So, which shocked me a lot. And
would you say particularly on multicam, that's more of a surprising thing?
Particularly on multicam, that's more of a surprising thing because, I mean, it's a choreographed piece that really needs to flow, not only for the joke, but for the timing, and just it has to make sense. It's a slice of life, literally in a box that's not a 360 box. You know what I mean? So things have to make sense, and you're there. Like, I always pre-prep. I'm pre-blocked. I come in with a plan and we play, but I really set the stage for my actors. That's my deal. I make sure that they know that I care in that way. Instead of just, I'm going to throw the dice up, go ahead. Y'all can start in the kitchen, maybe in the living room. I'm just, no. There's no time. You know, it's against you always. So that is shocking. And that was more than one director that I've seen that with.
And then what are some of the things that you saw that were maybe affirming? You're like, okay, I had the inclination that would be part of the job. And then you saw someone really excel in that way. And it was a positive reinforcement that you had the right understanding of this job you were going to get.
I think for me, the biggest thing, because multi-camera is literally 4 cameras and more working simultaneously. So when you see a director that can understand the actors, understand the network and the writers and the executive producers, and know their cameras inside and out, I think that is And I've seen that happen. I've seen a director come in, I'm like, wow, they finessed this scene and they got these actors on point. The performances are beautiful. They're taking the note from the executive producers and the network, and they know their cameras. They know what they want.
Right.
And I've seen that many times as well. I know a few directors that are like very skilled in all those areas, you know, and that's kind of rare because it's either maybe they're not that great with the actor. Maybe they don't know how to give a note properly, you know, but to see that all together, that's just a beautiful thing.
And the people who embody exactly what you're talking about, that beautiful thing, when you've seen it, do you feel it? Or like, is it something that is,
yes.
And I know, actually, let me rephrase that though, because that's not you feel it, but is it like performative, or is it something that, like, if you watch with careful detail, you see how they're really conducting this symphony? If that makes sense.
It's clear and obvious. Mm-hmm. It's an obvious. It's not shadowed in any way, or it's not small. It's big and obvious and beautiful, and it's not arrogant. It's none of those things. There's no ego. It's Captain Kirk. And I can't even explain it any other way than that. It is Captain Kirk. It's all the things. It's just, it's big without any arrogance or ego. And I've seen it. It's like lightning in a bottle.
So let's talk about, you know, the one last thing I want to touch on, because I've worked with several dialogue coaches, from working on Grownish to doing Unprisoned to doing, you know, now that I think about it, I think when I did this show, Single Parents, and I could be wrong, I feel like there was no dialogue coach, because I remember making note of that not being there after having done Grownish and it being earlier in my career, and recognizing I was going to have to talk to all of the kids, because there's definitely an appreciation that I have when it's like, I can tell you, the proverbial you, like, what I'm looking for, and then you know the words and the phrases and the gestures that connect with this young artist. And why wouldn't you take advantage of that when, you know, I think like your ego tells you to not relinquish, you know, some power, but it's like, it just helps you do your thing. In the same way, I feel like I've seen directors do that with stunt coordinators, right? Like, I won't let this person come up with a shot when it's like, they done shot 90 scenes that are like this. I guarantee you what they're pitching you is going to work. But like, I feel like that value is something that you got to respect. What were the best ways that you found people collaborated with you when they did embrace your value as a dialogue coach?
It's a great question. They first of all, they understood that I had a shorthand and that I knew these characters, I knew these kids. They just really, most of the directors that got it and understood the value of an acting coach really made sure that I was involved in everything, in the note sessions, doubling up on the notes. I was their right hand, and they really utilized me as that. And it felt empowering, and I felt connected to the process even more, which I love. I love that. I love sitting down with the director, and he's like, "Did you get all the notes today? Kelly, did you so-and-so?" I love that when they ask me to work with the actor, like, you know, in the makeup trailer, do the pre-read before the show, like just really handing me a little bit of that lightning in the bottle, which is great. I love it. And that happened a lot too. It did. Yeah. It did. And I've had some directors that are like, "You're a director. You should be directing."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the director would know it when they see it.
Yes.
Now, here's my last question, because this is I've actually never had this opportunity to have this much of a conversation with your former life, right? But how much of the work with the young artist, was it preparing them for a specific take on the scene, or preparing them for a kind of global view so they could perhaps take notes and not be locked in. So they could be malleable for perhaps notes from a director or from writer or producer or whatever it may be.
Most of the time it was scene for scene, but a lot of times, especially if I'm on a series, like when I was on Alexa and Katie, and they knew storyline, like they knew what was coming up, or they knew that there was going to be an emotional episode from 208 to 212, gearing them up with different choices of how to convey certain emotions that they've never tapped into. So just making sure that they, had all of the tools for those future episodes and in life, period. I mean, when I wasn't just an acting coach, I was also a therapist sometimes and a mom and all these things. They confided in me and turned to me for help. And when I did Lopez, I directed the pilot for Lopez versus Lopez. And Mayan Lopez, who's a wonderful, incredible human being, has never done this before. And she's doing it with her dad, her real life dad.
Right.
And they're straight from the headlines from their life. These storylines are real. So having her go over these storylines again and relive this stuff was really deep. So she leaned into me and we became very, very close. And I just gave her the tools on how to, how to get through that and convey the same emotion that she had personally. So it's been an interesting ride. I take it back. My acting coach hat is not gone. I'm still that. I incorporate that, every day. I think that's an advantage that I have, as a director. So I put that hat back on.
Yeah, as you say it, I was thinking like that must still be at play because you're giving. Part of that is just in the essence of how you move, and it lets an actor know that they, that they've got a different kind of guiding hand alongside of them, and that comfort is key.
It is.
Hi, this is Maria Mantilla, First Assistant Director, and you're watching Let's Shoot with Pete Chet.
Transitions, a director's journey and motivational handbook, is Pete Chatmon's book from Michael Weezy Productions. The reviews are in. Greg Berlanti says, "There's a reason why everyone who works with Pete falls in love with his work. The lessons he imparts here are invaluable. Do yourself a favor and read it cover to cover." From Sarah Gamble, Pete's sharing gold nuggets that will spare you a ton of wasted time and help you channel your drive, talent, and ambition in the most productive way. And from Jesse Williams, this business has everything to do with preparation and expectations. Transitions grounds lessons in reality while empowering our artistry to run free. Not an easy balance to execute. Transitions, a director's journey and motivational handbook is available on Amazon and anywhere else you get your books. Don't forget about your mom and pop shops, people.
Let's Shoot with Pete Chatmon is sponsored by the good folks at Scriptation. Scriptation is the Emmy Award-winning app for production that allows you to mark up scripts, transfer notes, generate breakdowns, and so much more. Personally, I use Scriptation daily on every production that I'm involved with. When I directed the season 1 finale of Dead Boy Detectives, currently streaming on Netflix, I was able to harness the power of the app to keep my creative and budgetary needs aligned, thanks to the ability to insert other production documents right into my script. It was a game changer to have my storyboards and visual effects budget conveniently placed within the script before all the big scenes. This is just one of the ways I use the incredible features inside of Scriptation. Go to scriptation.com/Pete to get an exclusive 20% off Scriptation's premium toolkit, Scriptation Industry Pro. I want to ask you about your first episode. You got that Alexa and Katie, right? Like you've been watching the process from right there, in Village, but like you get in the chair, you're making the thing. What was it like? What did you learn? What surprised you?
Ooh. First of all, it was exhilarating. And when it was all over, I wanted to do it again, all over that day. I learned just how powerful that position is and how I wanted to be as a director. I wanted to make sure that the crew knew that there are some things I didn't know. And I wasn't afraid to say that.
Right.
I didn't put on any airs. There was no ego. I utilized everybody in that room. It was like 150 years of experience in that room. And I'm like, listen, I learned, I asked, and I leaned in. And I leaned into, first of all, my acting coach experience. That's my sweet spot. And the other things that I wasn't familiar with, like knowing my cameras right away. And I leaned into that crew and they appreciated it. We became family. And so now that's just a part of how I do things. Because I'm still learning. I'm still, 10,000 hours, you know what I'm saying? So I'm still asking the questions. That never leaves. And what surprised me though is how right it felt for me. It wasn't odd. Like I got the butterflies, but it wasn't fear. It wasn't fear. It was finally. It was just finally. I just felt like I had arrived and I was there. So the fear wasn't there in that way. It was excitement and exhilaration, and I embraced it. That surprised me.
Tell me if this is accurate, because as you talk about that, I remember my first, full episode of TV, which was a grownish episode. And I had this overwhelming feeling of now is the time to do all the things that I know I can do. And will I rise to the challenge of who I know I can be? And so with every decision all day long, it's kind of guided, like the kind of intention behind it is like, you've been waiting for this, do this thing that you say you can do what you know, like don't get in the way of your greatness. You know what I mean? Like whatever it might be.
Yes, that does feel accurate. Yes, constantly.
Yeah.
That sentiment felt accurate last week. For real. Yeah. Because you know who you are, Right.
And so can you get out of your own way?
Yeah. I know how to talk myself off that mountaintop. Yes. I've been doing it all my life.
So for the uninitiated, can you explain multicam, what it is and how it works, and what an episode of multicam looks like for you as the director? And you can go to town on this. Like if you want to talk about, like, because I know you've done single cam as well. Like what is the process of getting that job? And then what is the process of, delivering on that script and that episode in a way that says, bring Kelly Park back for another one?
That's a great question. It's a long answer. Ready? Here it goes.
That's okay. We got time.
Multicam is a totally different beast, man. It is, first of all, you have 5 days. You have 5 days to deliver your episode. So when you go in for a meeting for a multicam job, be yourself, do your thing. If you've only done a couple of multicams or whatever, focus on story and how you like to tell a story, how you behave on set, what are some of the things you like to, how you treat actors. Sometimes they ask you about cameras and they'll ask you about different episodes and things, but you really need to hone in on who you're speaking with, like know their background, who they are, develop a relationship with them in that Zoom or in that room, make them laugh in some way. But when you get that job, it's all about your prep, man. And it's just like a single camera, but you literally have 5 days. So what happens is you get the gig. I reach out to everybody on that cast list that would be a part of my team. So the first AD, the cinematographer, the scripty. I introduce myself. A lot of times I know the people, but I send an email to say, hey, if there's an acting coach, give me a heads up of anything on set that is an issue or anything. If it's a new show, I'll reach out to the actors as well just to shoot a high. And then I start my prep. So I get the script. And sometimes you don't get the script, it might be the day before, So you get the director's plans. You have your director's plans. Now you got the script, and now you're preparing for two things that's going to happen on the first day. And that is the production meeting and the table read. So you have to prep for both of those. But then you have to also prep for rehearsal after the table read. So you break down your script like you would normally do with all your props and the things that you would need for your episode. And every department head is in that production meeting. The writer's in there, the executive producers, the network's in there, the heads of costumes, props, everything. And you're, according to what the script entails, you're telling them exactly what you need. You're collaborating. Sometimes in the Zoom, I'll share pictures and thoughts that I have. I like to really delve in and be a part of the process as much as possible. And then you'll have the table read. Now, when you do your table read, you are performing. You're not just there just to read. You are actually performing and nuancing moments and making sure, not reading the directions if a joke is in the direction, making sure that the actors follow your lead in terms of, time and weight of how you're saying things.
So wait, can I
like when
can
there's
I
an
hop in
emotional
there?
scene, you just let it ride out. You don't say any directions, like he exits here or she takes a pill or whatever. You don't say those.
Are you reading the descriptions from are you reading the stage directions of the script in the table read as director?
100%.
Oh, see that never happens in single cam.
You are
like we just that's dope because that is you do kind of sit there in single cam as kind of like the ultimate like silent guest. You know what I mean? Until you're on. Well, I mean, at least for the actors in prep, like you're just silent until you start getting more and more into prep and can have a clearer view of things, but still like the AD is running the meetings. You know what I mean? So
right.
That's I've never known that. That's dope.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's a really cool part of the process. So you have to turn on everything. So you're listening to the actors, you're taking notes, you're listening to the laughter, you're watching the writers write down notes from the table read. Then after the table read, we have notes. And the writers will give notes and the EPs and the network will give notes. And your script is going to change. And sometimes it changes drastically. So your first day of rehearsal is kind of like a light rehearsal. You just get everybody on their feet, get them moving in their space. And you run it like once or twice each scene and you move on. And some actors will, maybe there are some scenes they don't want to do because they know this scene is a mess. They're going to chop this up. We don't even have to run this.
Right.
And that happens a lot too. That's real. So you have first day of rehearsal, then the next day you have a producer run through, and that's for the writers and the producers. And then after that, you have a network run through. And all these scripts are changing. Okay. Thank God for scriptation. It changed my life. Lord have mercy. Woo, Lord. Because these changes come. And what you're prepping for is the 2 days of shooting. So a normal script is like 42 pages. You have 2 days to shoot that. So first day is a blocking shoot day, and we block and shoot. And then the second day is normally a live audience show, or if it's too large, it's a block and shoot. And everything's about time. You have so much time on that set to get all those shots, but we're simultaneously shooting. It's 4 cameras, so it's deep. In 2 days, you got to get it.
Man, that's incredible. So describe the journey of your single. First off, thank you again for that education. Cause I like I said in the beginning, I'm going to be taking notes here because I haven't done a multi-camera show.
Oh,
but yeah, I know I'm new blood. I'm interested in doing it, to tell you the truth, because I don't like there to be things that I've never done. And B, I think it's an interesting creative muscle to work. But tell me the journey of going from Alexa and Katie to, Game On, Raven's Home, Family Reunion. Like what did people see your work and come calling? Had they worked with you as a dialogue coach prior? Like how did that career begin to pick up speed?
That's such a good question. Well, thank God for Netflix. They just once they got shows, all those multicam shows, Family Reunion, and it's just wonderful. So I kind of just bounced right into that. And I was an acting coach on Family Reunion as well, which was great. So I knew everybody over there. And at the time, after Lex and Katie, I didn't have an agent yet. And a friend of mine was like, well, let me introduce you to somebody at APA. And I was like, what? Okay. So I went to APA and they were like, why would we represent you? You've only done one episode of television. And I was like, because I'm going to do more. I'm going to do pilots. I'm going to do this. And I just sold myself. So I got an agent and, like I said, dropped the acting coach thing. And they started to send me out and I started to build relationships. But, our daughter was in the industry. So we knew a lot of people. We had relationships with people and they're like, wow, it's good to see you in this space. So they literally just put me on. And when I got the gig I did Grace and Frankie. And that was first of all, it was single camera. And I'm so used to the multi-camera world. It was a painless jump from multi to single because I was so used to using all of these cameras. So when I got down to just using two and using the whole world, it was like, it blew my mind. It really did. Yeah. I did the game as well.
Turning around.
Which was turning around and I could see the back. It was amazing. So I love single camera for that. And the time, there's so much time to be had. It's not just the 2 days. Sure. So really cool. Yep.
So how did the first pilot, how did you get the first pilot? And what was it?
The first pilot I ever did was called Black Don't Crack for ABC. It was wonderful. It was Tisha Campbell, Essence Atkins, Sherry Shepherd, Taj Mowry. It was incredible. I did the Upshaws and the showrunner of the Upshaws was like, I got this pilot and we would love for you to direct the pilot. I was like, are you kidding me? So I had a meeting with ABC Signature. It was great. And I kind of described the tone, how I wanted to present this episode and what it meant to me. It was about these three incredible Black women and their friendship. And, I told them stories about my life and how I related to it. And I also threw in some single camera moments, which was, totally apropos, and it didn't take you out of the multicam world, but it kind of just, it kind of opened it up more and made it more interesting. And it was really cool. Viola Davis was in it, and she was an executive producer with Larry Wilmore. It was the bomb. It was an incredible experience. She had never done multicam, so she was asking me, like, which way do I look? Do I look upstage? Do I look downstage? I'm like, I can't believe I'm directing Viola Davis in this. It was wild. It was wild. And I became a multicam pilot director, and I went on to do Lopez versus Lopez, which got a second season. We just ended our second season. I did another pilot for NBC with Amber Ruffin. Called Non-Evil Twin. It didn't go, but it was the bomb. It was amazing.
Wow. I love it. I love how A, work begets work, B, talent, persistence, and deliberateness, asking people for what you want and letting them know what your goals are can pan out when you've got the goods, and just the volume of things coming your way is amazing. Wow. So how many single cameras have you done?
Let me see. I did Station 19, which was a beast, and it was amazing. At Station 19, I've done The Game, and I've done several of those, and I've done Grace and Frankie. So like 5 altogether, I think. Yeah.
5 altogether. And what if you had your way, what does a calendar year of directing look like for Kelly Park?
If I had my way, it would be filled with multicam episodes. Maybe the producing director of a multicam, which I would do the whole season. And then all my off time, I'd be shooting a film. And maybe it would be sprinkled with a couple of 1 hours, maybe a couple 1 hours, which I love. I love the drama.
I love it. How many multicams can one do in a year? If you were like the most bookingest director out there? Like, what can you do?
I think you can do over like 30 to 40. Why not?
Whoa,
Maybe
that's
more.
so wild. I mean,
60?
when I've
it's
had
1 week.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've had at my busiest, I did maybe 15 in a year between half hours and 1 hours. And that was like
Okay.
no days off. Like right now, I mean, this is going to air later than, what we're doing right now. But like, I'm prepping an episode of You right now. And today at lunch, I had to give notes on my half-hour episode of Unprisoned, and I got tomorrow to wrap that up, and then Wednesday and Thursday are my 2 days on the second episode of that. Then we start shooting You on Friday, so it's like this, but like the amount of available time is like crazy. It's so minimal. So that kind of blows my mind that you could get up to 30 plus.
I mean, I just did 6 back to back. I did three neighborhoods, and then had like a week off and did 3 Lopez's. So that's 6.
Man, so that's where the multicam, y'all got the money, huh? I get it.
Yes.
I see what's happening.
And it's fast, Pete. It's fast.
I see what's happening. Yeah. No, that's dope. All right. So what is one thing craft-wise that if somebody catches you in a good moment or you got time, you can go into the wormhole about the importance of like this particular craft element of your directing or of directing? Like, what would that be? And please, like, educate me on this thing that you were so concerned about.
It would be blocking. It would be, I am a master blocker. Okay. I like to, I can talk about blocking all day long. It is so key to storytelling. It really is. Mm-hmm. When people are just sitting in the living room, it drives me crazy. Yeah. Somebody got to get up and cross. Somebody got to do something. So I really like all my episodes. My episodes always reflect real life. People are getting up. Sometimes the shot might even be dirty because somebody crossed, or it's just, I love blocking. That's my thing.
Yeah. And so how do you, when you get a scene, like, and again, so now this is again, a purely educational because I don't really know what a multicam script looks like. I can speak to the fact that in, let's say in a half hour single cam, depending on the network, and how much the actual runtime allowed is, how long the episode can be, a lot of times they are leaving out stage directions to manage the page count. So that opens up the opportunity for me to have a point of view on the blocking because I can't go into a rehearsal with no pitch. Although you and I both know that plenty of directors do that. So, how do you approach that when you get that multicam script? Like, what's your process to carve out blocking scenarios that you want to offer to these talented actors?
I did Country Comfort. I did for Netflix, and that was a pilot as well, and that was amazing. It was a huge cast. It was 6 kids, 2 adults, and sometimes in the script they would literally say the family's in the kitchen, and I'm like, that leaves it open for me, which is wonderful. So it gives me an opportunity to play in that kitchen. So, and I do my pitch. And usually with multicam, the pitch is just show them what it is instead of, calling or talking to, just show them, pitch it and show. So I was like, well, everybody loves pancakes. So we're going to be making pancakes. We'll make breakfast. People going to be moving. Maybe some people will move into the living room. I mean, we have 4 cameras on PEDs. We're moving. And they love that. So I take that into every episode I did. I just did Lopez. And there was a huge backyard scene. And they were just like, everybody's at a party. So I choreographed that down to a T. People crossing and dumping. It was beautiful. But I had to establish that, at the beginning of my career. So now they know that's what I do. And I think sometimes these writers are writing to my style now, which is really cool. It's really interesting.
Was that something that was perhaps tough to gain the trust of actors with, that, first couple times when you were like, I've got this plan with all of this movement that you must execute and embody? Were they always open to it? Like, was it a bit of a hurdle?
It was a bit of a hurdle. Some things that I've directed, I did Mad About You, which was incredible. That show moves. I mean, Helen Hunt is in the kitchen, and then she moves into the living room, and then she's in the bedroom, and it really learned me. I learned a lot of my skills that I have now from that show. I did 3 episodes of that and watching that movement. And then there are some shows that I go to, and some of the actors say, let us just find this. We understand you have a plan and we get it. And they understand. And I go ahead, please, by all means. And they'll try to find it, and then they'll back themselves in the corner. And I always have a way out. But I'm always flexible. Sometimes I go in and it doesn't look like I have a plan, and I'm kind of organically finding it myself too. So, which is kind of the trickery of it all. Just, making people feel comfortable without them. You stand here, you sit here, then it's shows that I go to like Lopez, where they love that. They're like, tell me where to go. Cedric on the neighborhood, he's like, tell me. Want me to sit here, stand here? And some actors really, really love that, and some just really want to play and find it. And I'm flexible in both ways.
Yeah. What do you prefer?
I prefer trying my plan. I prefer trying my plan first. I've thought so deeply about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I prefer.
I could talk to you for 19 episodes about that one thing, because I feel like, if you've hired the right person, and hopefully you either know this by the interview or prior work, maybe you get caught out there if it's somebody who's new and they could give you a good interview and they be bullshit. But like, I think that we have this prep time where those of us who are passionate about the job and skilled in what we do really do think a great deal about what we pitch and what we present. It's tethered through the transitions between every scene. It's the idea of, well, I'm never going to shoot this room the same way because I got to do it 5 times. And so I don't want to do it from this perspective on this scene because I want to preserve that look of this space until the final, you know all the stuff that goes into it. And so I just often marvel at the fact that, like, sometimes actors don't want to hear the pitch, and the pitch is designed for what people are going to be looking at. Right? There's what you live, and then there's the fact that people are watching a camera present what you live. And a good director like yourself has thought about what that pitch is, because it's taking what they're living and presenting it in the most metaphoric way for the audience to digest. And sometimes it's hard to execute on that when people just don't want to walk through that door. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or whatever it might be. And that's just me spewing at the moment. But I think about that all the time, because sometimes also you end up at what you would have pitched anyway, and you just spent 18 minutes on something that they actually agreed with.
Yes.
So
there
that said, so tell me, like, looking back on your career, like, what would you tell yourself right now if you were at the comedy club and you met young Kelly Park and you said, hey, I'm experienced Kelly Park, let me tell you a little something about where you trying to go, what would you say?
That's such a beautiful question. I would say, be still, listen to everything. Take not one moment for granted. It all works out. It's all going to make sense. The pieces seem scattered at the moment, and you're trying to raise a family and do your thing and find yourself and be happy. Just be still and listen. hold on to those you love, and acknowledge your village, acknowledge them, give them their flowers, and love on yourself a little bit. You came through the cracks of the hard streets of Philly, and you're getting places. You're smart enough. You're enough. Everything's going to work out. I would tell that Kelly. I would tell that Kelly that. Yeah.
Okay. And then I don't throw this question at everybody, but we're back for season 5 now, and I like this question. So, in a world where someone is making a filmed piece of entertainment about the story of your life, who's starring in it, who's directing it, and what genre is it?
Okay. That's a deep, crazy ass question. I love it. It would be Keke Palmer playing me.
Oof. Okay.
It would be a horror comedy, and it would be a limited series.
And it'll be
Definitely.
It'll be on Apple TV, so they
And
just money.
Directing? I think it would be you, Pete Chapman. I think it would be you. Let me tell you why. Why.
Okay.
The flight attendant? Dude. Your shots? How you told that story? Come on, man. It'll be you. You need to do it.
Thank you very much. I was thinking, why not go full auteur and direct it yourself? 'Cause I know you got notes.
Wouldn't that be a trip?
I know you would have notes. I know, but look, everything's meta these days, isn't it?
Everything's meta. You're right. You're right.
Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, I can't thank you enough. I was thinking about who we would bring on for the new season, and definitely, like I said, like great energy, man. You stay on deadline and Variety, like they looking for you on a milk box. You just staying in the columns, and it's beautiful to see. So I'm excited to see what you do for the rest of 2024, for the rest of your career, and it's been just a joy to chat with you.
Pete, it was an honor. I love that you do this. It's so wonderful. I've learned so much. You've helped me in my career, so I appreciate you, brother. And I'm so proud of you. You and your wonderful wife. I'm so proud of you guys. So keep rising.
Likewise. Okay? Thank you, Kelly, and likewise. And let's do it again.
Yes, let's do it again.
All right, Kelly Park. What's up, people? This is Pete Chapman. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter via @PeteChapman. Follow the pod on IG via @Let'sShootWithPeteChapman, and hit up our mailbag with questions, suggestions, or hey, donations if you're feeling like it via let'sshootwithpetechapman@gmail.com. And just in case you need to know how to spell it, that's Pete with the last name CHATMON. Let's Shoot with Pete Chapman is produced and edited by the multi-talented cut creator Tristan Nash. Assistant produced by the young mogul Jada George, and features the wonderfully gifted Kelly McCreary as our announcer. It's written by yours truly, but I mostly come up with these questions on the fly, which you've probably noticed. Go ahead and get your podcast swag via PeteChapman.com and leave a review on iTunes if so inclined. That shit matters. Let's Shoot with Pete Chapman is sponsored by Scriptation. Scriptation makes it easy to go paperless on set, increase your productivity, and save hours of time. Let's Shoot listeners get a special discount on Scriptation Industry Pro. Go to scriptation.com/Pete to learn more. Thanks for listening, y'all. Please go ahead and submit those 1-minute videos on how you use Scriptation for a chance at winning a signed copy of my book, Transitions. And tune in next week for Janine Neighbors, writer, producer, creator, showrunner, all the things behind such hits as Atlanta. And in the meantime, stay safe, spread love, and keep creating.